So welcome everybody to our exclusive interview with Security by Live partner and security industry influencer, Chuck Andrews, founder of Friends of Chuck and security and law enforcement veteran. It's great to see you again, Chuck. We're always really pleased to have you here with us. For anyone watching today who may not be familiar with who you are or your background, could you just give us a little insight into your career and journey from the security industry to security influencer?
Sure, absolutely. Good day, good morning, wherever everybody is, and Security Buyer Live around the world. It's good to be here. Friends of Chuck, thank you. I look forward to talking this morning. And yeah, let's get into it, Rebecca. So, my career is probably very different from other people, wherein I had an early start into the industry through law enforcement. Most people are familiar with the Boy Scouts of America. I was a Cub Scout and a Webelow, but I transcended as a 13-year-old into law enforcement police exploring, which means you donned a uniform, everything but a handgun, literally, and went out on patrol with police officers to learn that particular trade craft. It was a really great time in my life as a young man, and that's how I began my career. From the age of 13 to 19, logging 4,000 hours on patrol, basically in the Houston, Texas area, and learning the trade craft in this business. Well, the one thing that I did learn in doing that is you learn about people, and that falls into relationships, which is part of what we're going to talk about today. So from that point on in my career, I went to college. I studied over in Europe in 4 countries, law enforcement, prison systems, probation, parole, the court systems of other countries, came back to the United States and really started my law enforcement career. Did that for quite some time, and eventually in law enforcement, I worked my way up to chief of police, found myself working most of my time in crime prevention. When you work in crime prevention, you have to work in the security business and work with different industries around the community and the state and the county and all these different groups that you work with to understand that piece. So to do a better job as a crime prevention officer, I needed to understand the security industry. So that's how I got really started in ASIS International and many other security organizations. And this is how I started to begin my career in the consulting practice in the security business. After being chief of police, I retired full-time from law enforcement and then got into the security business and was able to be a chief security officer and security director for a couple of major corporations. And from there, I eventually started Friends of Chuck and my own enterprises and innovation and technology around security around the world. So that's where we are today with Friends of Chuck, which is probably the largest private network of security colleagues around the world.
Well, it's definitely great to have you here, and I can safely say it's clear that you've got a lot more experience than I suppose most people. So it's always fantastic to have that knowledge in all sides of the industry. So just to start, so as a supporter of Security by Live, what made you want to partner with our event today?
Well, one of the interesting things about Security Buyer Live is their reach around the world. I think 50 countries, over 1,000 attendees. And you guys this is really interesting, right? You have this dedicated online experience, for the entire international security sector, right? To look at equipment and systems and, develop really important business relationships in this industry, which is a big part of what I do. And of course, to develop important business relationships and create new business opportunities. It sounds like this is perfectly aligned with the Friends of Chuck model. So this is what interested me.
Well, thank you. It's definitely a community that we're trying to create here. And like you said, relationships is something that's so important, not just in the security industry, but in all industries. And that's what we're trying to build a virtual foundation of that. Obviously, we never want to rival live events. That's something that's so important to us, that face-to-face contact. But it reaches out a different type of audience. So it's great to be able to get those people involved as well. So we're here today, obviously, to speak primarily about your recently released best-selling security book, Yes, Sir. So why did you set out to write this book?
So working in this industry is all about people. And one of the things that I've learned over many decades is basically this industry boils down to strategy, intelligence, and relationships, henceforth the word SIR. And of course, yes, sir, is a response that you hear a lot in the law enforcement and military world. And those are the people who work in that world. So I aptly named the book, Yes, Sir, Strategy, Intelligence, and Relationships. You too can be a global security influencer. So this is what I wanted to impart and share out to industry colleagues, especially young professionals who are coming up in the industry, to really understand that. And I'll give you a good analogy. One of the things that I've been tracking and doing a lot of research on is the hiring of security practitioners in our field. As an experiment, from time to time, I apply probably 2 or 3 times a quarter to a security director or chief security officer job. One of the things that's very interesting, and I keep telling people and preaching that, and it's in my book with a few tips and strategies around how do I get employed in this business? Well, just putting an application in and hoping that optical character recognition picks up on keywords, just so you might be lucky enough to get a job, that's not enough. You need to be an influencer. You need to be a differentiator. You need to be the delta. And that all happens. It ends and it begins with relationships. And that is really the true delta. And in all this time in my research, and I'm going to be talking more about this in the future, is that every time I have applied for a job as a security director or chief security officer for in the year 2022, and my research will be coming out 2023, not one single company qualified me to become an interview candidate because they said I did not have the necessary competencies, education, proficiency, or experience to do the job.
That's very difficult to believe. Wow.
Right. Well, is it not telling? So I've documented all this information, and this is there's going to be a lot of, let's just say, security buzz about this, because it just validates what I've written in my book, that you need to be enough of an influencer to get that interview. And this is really, really critical. You can't rely on putting the application. I've been able to validate that. Listen, I know that I'm qualified. I don't know how many people have done all the things that I've done, have all the certifications that I have such an extensive tenure. I mean, we're talking from the age of 13 to today, almost 46 years of exposure and experience in this business. But I can't get an interview? What is inherently wrong with that? So I'm giving people the tools that they need, people that come from the law enforcement, military, and security world, right, to be their own influencer. So this is one of the things that we're trying to do, building business relationships. Relationships are key. And we'll get into that more, I think, coming right up with Yes, Sir, right?
Yeah. So you briefly touched upon the acronym of strategy, intelligence, and relationships. But what is it about these particular 3 points that can actually help change people's career journeys?
Absolutely. With this mindset of SIR, strategy, intelligence, and relationships, let's talk about it and let's break it down a little bit. So you want to be able to develop relationships with all types of people across all industry verticals. Right over here in my podcast room, I have over 40,000 business cards that I've collected over the course of my career. And they are a constant reminder that these are the things that are important. So finding relationships and keeping those relationships. Look, you can take a business card and exchange it with someone. That is only the beginning of your lifelong journey and develop of a relationship with someone or an entity, a company, organization. You have to maintain that relationship, and that's where the real work begins, is maintaining the relationship, staying in contact with them, being relative to them, and you want to keep that lifelong relationship with someone. So that's the relationship piece. Now, look, once you've developed the relationship piece, you want to employ the letter S in S.I.R strategy. So in order to accomplish the goals that you want, maybe you want to get a particular job or role. Maybe you need a mentor. Maybe you're looking to do business with a particular corporation or an individual or group. You have to lay out a good strategy that is driven by relationships. And then finally, all of these, both strategy and relationships, are fed by intelligence. This is important. We were talking about going to live events or events like Security Buyer Live. You are gathering intelligence and information out there that you can use to develop your strategy, your blueprint, right? And you do that through key relationships. All of it is interoperable and always it's ongoing. So with strategy, intelligence, and relationships combined and used effectively, you too can become a security influencer.
And what does the term influencer actually mean? And how can it help instigate, like, not just a changing career journey, but also the betterment of the industry?
So being an influencer can mean lots of things depending on who you are, where you are in the industry, and what you want to do. So for me, an influencer means that you are someone who has worked in the industry, has built this great relationship database. You've been able to gather intel around the industry. And for the betterment of the industry, if you have a better understanding of exactly what's going on in the industry, you can make better decisions on the needs, wants, and desires of those that need the things, whether it's talent acquisition, security innovation and technology, hardware, software, all the things that are being developed in this industry. It's across the board. It's very open-ended. And so for you as an influencer, this could be what you really need to get that job, or the ability to take a piece of technology and find out exactly what does the market really need. So as an influencer, you have that strategy, intelligence, and relationships in order to make a change for the betterment of industry because you understand it. I liken it to a chessboard, right? Playing chess is one thing. Understanding the board itself, its configuration, its history, the material that it's made of, who the players are, who's winning, who's losing, all of that is likened to that exactly.
And I suppose also being an influencer, you actually are respected by a great number of people in the industry, so you can help pioneer those changes, like you said, innovation or diversity or recruitment, upskilling, and have people listen to you. You know, having that platform to be able to actively instigate that change. And that's something that we're hearing a lot of, not just with, like, you know, for example, the IFSEC influencers list, but, you know, all over the industry, influencers are becoming so key in the development of the industry. And one of the most important ways to solidify those relationships and expand the network that you've been speaking about is to meet at face-to-face live shows. Absolutely. So we've just come back from one of the biggest shows in the industry, ISC West, and I hear you've announced something pretty revolutionary for the industry. Would you be able to reveal any key details?
Well, so there's more to come, but I'm going to give you a sneak preview. You're going to hear about this thing called the Security Innovation Hub, and it's based in Chicago. This is going to be one of those major pieces of the industry that is really revolutionary. It has been evolutionary up to this point, but now will be a game changer. Imagine, if you will, one venue, and housed in that venue is all this great technology, hardware and software, artificial intelligence, access control, camera systems, all this stuff under one roof. And literally, you'll be able to go to the facility and actually see it in action. There's collaboration, there's labs, there's open API opportunities where people are working with to make their stuff interoperable, and a venue where events in the industry, security industry, can actually happen and people can gather, where there's knowledge sharing and networking. Yeah, the Security Innovation Hub is going to be a huge announcement in the industry, where for the first time on planet Earth, there's one specific place. Think of it as Switzerland for the industry, where everybody can come in and actually participate in seeing, feeling, touching, operating, and understanding all this great technology to work together for a better and safer communities around the world.
And once again, we're hearing that key word, interoperability, something that's so crucial for manufacturers in the industry, and to integrate those solutions to benefit the end user and to create an entirely secure system. And if any organizations watching today want to get involved in this innovation, to help not just with their products, but also to help develop technology, how might they do so?
If they'll reach out to me via LinkedIn or my contact information here at Security Buyer Live, I can bring them up to speed on everything that they need to know about the venue.
And in your opinion, speaking of innovation, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges that are currently facing the industry today?
Well, listen, we're going through this, what I call AIFIs, artificial intelligence. Everybody wants to jump on that bandwagon and start to really define how it's being used, and is it really working? How effective is it? How much of that will, I guess, change out, traditional cognitive human being present decision-making processes? As part, there's cost savings involved, there's efficiencies involved. So this is one of the things that's going to impact the industry. As AI goes, other things will go as well. They're going through this whole entire process of acceptance and cost. So you're going to see a big impact with AI. And it's going to happen in a much more pronounced way as the technology gets better and better and better. We've seen this through facial recognition, where facial recognition has been slow. And then there were some setbacks here recently legally in its use in public venues. But now you're starting to see it come back again in the private spaces in a very big way after that's happened. So all these different things that are happening to impact the industry are really initiatives, right, to bring further innovation to what we're trying to do in the security business. And there's so many cool pieces of technology that are out there. People are really reaching far and wide on some really cool stuff, like anomaly detection, like true anomaly detection as an example of where it's actually working and it's actually bringing a strong return on investment. You're going to see more and more of this impacting the industry as we move forward.
And obviously you spoke about that AI integration being a huge game changer in the industry at the moment, and you briefly touched upon some concerns in terms of the public space. Regarding the ethics of AI, do you have an opinion on that? I know it's quite a buzz in the industry at the moment about how it can be used in terms of law enforcement and government, and that's primarily where the controversy lies.
Yeah, so I don't have a formed opinion on the ethics of AI because the jury is still out, right? We are going through this whole process of what works, what is overbearing or infringing, if you will. I have yet to form an opinion on the ethical piece of that. Now, look, the envelope is going to get pushed. And this is true of all innovation and technology. How far will communities and society and the legal community actually allow it to go? But, there's so much that happens in security technology in the background that people don't even know. And I'll give you an example. LPR, license plate recognition technology. So what has really happened with that technology in the United States over the last few years? So you have seen law enforcement utilize that technology, LPR, maybe on borders and in those initiatives. And, but now you see literally thousands of private citizens through homeowners associations. And this is one of the examples that's going on. kind of a groundswell, if you will, from the private sector, literally private citizens who are purchasing license plate recognition technology to protect their neighborhood by recording license plates coming and going out of their neighborhoods. And as a result, if you're a bad guy and you're operating a motor vehicle and you have a license plate, that's going to get logged. And that information can be then shared with law enforcement. And in some communities, that information, I think, is actually being shared in real time, where through real-time crime centers, that information is coming and going. That's one of the very interesting pieces of innovation that has happened. You're going to see, and I've predicted it in a couple of articles over the last 2 years, forecasting what does the future really look like in our industry, right? With the change of responsibilities in law enforcement as a result of things that have happened in the United States, you're seeing the private sector and the private communities and individuals and private associations like homeowners associations really embracing their own security and using technology to that end. You're going to see more and more and more of this across the country.
And also, I suppose, the convergence between the private and public coming together for the better public safety. So it's quite nice to see, you know, like you said, these private sectors working with law enforcement, as opposed to there being a little bit of you know, antagonizing barriers there. So that's quite refreshing to hear, actually. So just circling back round to Friends of Chuck. You founded, like you said, one of the biggest networks in the industry. And why is this network so important? And what benefits can members expect if they were to join the network?
Over 10 years ago, I recognized the fact that, as I was speaking and alluding to with examples earlier about finding that job, that relationships are everything. It is the et al and the end all of industry, especially this particular vertical. Friends of Chuck was founded on the principles that relationships are key to everything. And so by building that under the Friends of Chuck brand, people, it really resonated with people. And they concluded that how important it is to have friendships and colleagues and the people that you work with in the industry and understanding where there's job openings, business opportunities, investment opportunities, in a very specific and scoped network of people, informally, mind you, where everybody could work with everybody. And that's what I've tried really hard to do around the world. And that's why, you know, hundreds of thousands of people are part of the Friends of Chuck network. You want to get to the point in your own network and building your own Friends of Chuck world, where you can literally send an email, pick up the phone, call someone on their cell phone who you haven't talked to in 4 years and pick up right where you left off. That's the greatest example. And I've been able to do that around the world in 100 countries. This is why people who want to do business in the state of Texas, clearly the state of Texas, call me. And they understand, because I understand the lay of the land and have the relationships and the context, and to actually put things together with a good, thoughtful understanding of how to be successful. So this is why it's important that you build your own network, be a part of the Friends of Chuck network, and have the benefits of those relationships, all those things that can bring to you. Now, listen, it's work. And as I told you earlier, maintenance is everything here. Once you have that business card, you have to keep up with that business card. Using social media platforms like LinkedIn is one of the very best. I was there day one when LinkedIn started, and I've been utilizing and have reviewed every single person that is currently on LinkedIn as well. And that's really important, the maintenance part of it. You got to keep up with folks. And when you do that, then you're staying in contact with them and you're maintaining the relationship. Very muy importante.
And how can becoming an influencer or creating your own network or joining the Friends of Chuck network help the industry tackle some of the earlier challenges that we spoke about just now in terms of AI integration, interoperability? Okay, perfect. Thanks, Craig. I'll rephrase that question. So how can becoming an influencer or creating your own network or joining Friends of Chuck help the industry tackle some of the challenges that we mentioned just now?
Well, I think we answered that question a couple of times already, but let me reiterate so everybody understands. If you can make better or more thoughtful decisions, and that is relative to what? Having the relationships in industry, gathering the intelligence, and formulating a strategy. That's how you can move the needle. If you have better information on really what's going on because you built a relationship and because you're building your network, you have better intel, then you can lay out a better strategy in everything that you do. Then all these challenges that you're dealing with, you have more information and better information. And that's what is really the delta here of how you move the needle in these industry tackling opportunities and challenges that come up. If you're in the know, you can make a better decision. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that is all we have time for today. But I just had one final question to round off on. If anybody wants to meet you in person next and start to develop that network with you, what live shows can they find you at next?
Well, the biggest live show that they'll find me at our Texas Night event, ASIS International GSX in Texas, Dallas, Texas, on September 10th at 6 p.m. at Gillies. And there'll be more information out. You won't miss it. Trust me.
Well, thank you, Chuck. I really appreciate you coming to talk to us today and having that time to actually not just get to know each other better, but also find out more about your book and how becoming an influencer can really benefit the people watching today to develop their own network and change their career dreams. If anybody has any further questions, please obviously reach out to Chuck on the platform and connect, start that community, start your own network, and you can become an influencer too. So thank you, Chuck. Really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you.